Hello everybody, SlimKirby here, and welcome back to the Animal Crossing Let's Play. You are currently watching the abridged portion of this playthrough, where I cut out all the fluff and simply talk about my adventures of playing through an entire year of Animal Crossing in a summary format. If you'd rather watch the playthrough in its entirety, check out the video description for a link to a playlist that has all the episodes and stream sessions I've done, raw and unedited. But if you'd rather stick around for these videos, well, just sit back and enjoy my adventures through Popstar. Friday, May 30th. I wish I had more stuff to discuss for this day, but I really don't, honestly. Just a very typical neighbor day, and I couldn't really develop much lore from it either. Lily did give me a small scare, talking about potentially moving at some point, yet at the same time, so many of my other neighbors have also said that as well, which doesn't really tell me that much. I also ended up with another fabled 67 shirt, and for some reason, I got the idea to try and put it on Freya again. I don't know, maybe with her dating Ringra and being nicer to Lily, maybe she's warmed up to the idea more. You never know. Saturday, May 31st. Well, look at that. She has warmed up to the idea after all. Now, does Freya 67 have the same ring as Ava 67? Not exactly, but it's pretty close. Honestly, I'm just more happy with Freya's personal growth and evolution during the course of this project. She wanted nothing to do with that shirt back in winter, and here she put it on with no hesitations and here in May, and that's pretty cool. And on the subject of classic shirt memes, I also ended up with a cherry shirt in my inventory today too, but I think it's because it was the random item in the dump today, so I'll just assume that it's just a late project victory for the 67 Alliance. Maybe Lily saw Freya with the shirt on and thought, wow, that shirt does look cool, and renounced allegiances or something to that effect. And even though we noticed fireflies starting to appear in town the other day, another insect pest has also decided to resurface around this time as well, and that's the pesky mosquito. Not gonna enjoy that text box rearing its ugly head again. Also, if you're wondering about the raffle after how the last couple have gone, are you really that surprised I haven't mentioned it yet? Because it's really more of the same. Had everything it offered, so really not worth talking about. We will get another NES game tomorrow though, so we'll have something to talk about soon at least. Getting to the music, after recent chat discussions going on during these streams, I had to make this the town tune for this week. Name that tune. And for our weekly concert, we got to meet Mr. KK today. And no, I'm talking about the song Mr. KK, not the individual. Well guys, we've come this far and we are now in the final full month of the project. With only 40 days left to cover, the home stretch is truly here. And even though the last few months have been pretty quick and kind of lacking substance, I will say right now that June actually kind of surprised me a little. I did actually find some things to occupy my time with, and there were some pretty big revelations that happened this month as well. So I honestly feel this will be the most interesting month we've had in a while. But don't just take my word for it. Let's get going and enter the month of June. Sunday, June 1st. Okay, Slim, tell us, what's this big thing you have under wraps in regards to the month of June? That's probably what you guys are asking me right now. Well, my friends, the answer is fishing. That's right, fishing. Now, you're probably wondering how fishing plays into my master plan here. I've had all the fish since March, and I clearly don't need the money. Well, in June, Chip returns for another round of the fishing tourney throughout the entire month every Sunday. And I may have a little theory about the fishing rewards. But in order to test that theory, we need to win. So let's get on out there and try to catch as many large bass as possible. And yes, much like the fall fishing tourney, we can only turn in bass for this one. I was under the impression that there were multiple variations of this tourney, but it turns out the bass tourney is literally the only one in this game. So, apologies if I made you think otherwise in a previous video. Before I focus solely on the fishing for today, there are some other things I should mention first, unrelated to the tourney as a whole. So, let's cover those points first. I item coded Donkey Kong 3 for my raffle replacement item, another NES game that you can only get via secret code. I bought turnips from Joan today for 91 bells, seeing how it is Sunday, I guess I should mention that. And since it's summer again, the return of camping villagers is also a factor again. I think I also noticed in particular that the camping villagers are not as common or as frequent as the igloo villagers were in winter. I think they only come during the weekends, and one particular camper will stay for 2 days in a row, which means our time with these individuals is definitely much less than the igloo residents, meaning getting all the summer camping items will be a lot harder here. Also, unlike for the igloos, the type of personalities you want to aim for are surprisingly the snooty and cranky types, not the normals, as the camping games and scenarios are different from the igloo ones, and the snooty and cranky games are a lot easier to take advantage of. Our visitor today was Kabuki, a cranky cat, so naturally we tried our luck with this, and I was pleasantly surprised that we were rewarded quite quickly and easily with a backpack. Sure enough, one of the exclusive camping items. I honestly should have tried taking more advantage of Kabuki while he was here, but I had a fishing tournament to win, and a much more important theory to test. Plus, I'm already kind of making my peace with the fact that I will not be able to get all the camping items in this fashion anyway, considering the luck I need and the minimal days I have remaining. Still though, it was nice to at least get something from this again, and see this play out in real time. The last of significant notice that I did today was write a letter to my girl Cookie. She and I have been dating for a little while now, and things have been going pretty well between us, which I think means that it's time to start sharing some more intimate details between each other. And no, get your minds out of the gutter, I just mean my love for the Nintendo 64, as I gave her an N64 logo that I found in the shop recently. I mean, come on, if we're going to be a couple, it's only natural that we at least take an interest, whether directly or indirectly, in what the other enjoys, and I find the N64 console a pretty magical system for gaming. So, I hope she appreciates and loves the gesture, and in turn, I can learn some more things about what she likes as well. Let's get back to the fishing, though. Before I say anything else, I should mention that you should also talk to Tourneys before you do anything on this day. Much like Fall, you will get a unique item from him to celebrate the fishing tourney, and it is a different item from the previous one we got. It's still basically the same thing, but they will appear as different items in the catalog, so be aware of that fact. Also, if you miss getting it on the first Sunday, you can also get it on subsequent Sundays, with exception of the third Sunday, more on that later. Now, as I said, you need a large bass for this tourney, so look for fish of a large shadow size in the river. If you find a lot of carp and barbel steed, you are getting the right shadow size at least, but be prepared to sit through a lot of these catches. I seriously was getting a bit agitated with how many barbel steed I was getting for this, and keep in mind, when you get one large bass, that's not even a guarantee of winning either, so you'll definitely want to try and get multiple. It took forever, but I eventually did get a nice collection of large bass, and I turned one in and almost immediately got a score of 26 inches, a score that's very much capable of winning these tourneys. I advanced time to a quarter before the competition ended, and I turned in the rest, praying that I wouldn't get sniped by the buzzer. Thankfully though, my score of 26 stood the test of time, and I was able to win my first summer fishing tournament. Now for the moment of truth. You see, when I heard the fishing tournament was coming back, I actually started wondering if maybe this could be another way for me to get unique catalog items I hadn't acquired yet, since back in fall, whenever I won, I did manage to get something new both times that I did. Given I had much less completed of the catalog back then, but it was a theory I wanted to put into practice at least, especially for this last full month of content. And to my ultimate satisfaction, when I opened my letter from Chip, I got the NES game Donkey Kong. Sure enough, an item I didn't have in my catalog yet. So here's how this works. When you win the fishing tournament, you actually do get an uncatalogued item, and usually a rare one at that. I'm not sure of the exact probabilities and rarity values, because keep in mind how much further along I am right now with my catalog, but I want to say that it prioritizes rare furniture items, in particular ones you get from both Red and the lottery. And as of this moment, there's only a handful, if anything even less than a handful, that I still need to get from these item pools. I think at this point it's only like an NES game or two, and you guessed it, the flowery painting. So you probably see where I'm going with this. These fishing tournaments could be my last guarantee at getting this last artwork. The odds of Red having it, much less just visiting in general, are quite low, and Whiffs still has a mountain of gyroids to sort through, and not a lot of remaining visits as it is. Speaking of which, I did visit with him tonight, and he pretty much proved my point with another one, so there you go. So if I just strategically use item codes for any remaining items and keep winning the fishing tourneys, I should be able to get this painting before the end of the month, completing the museum once and for all, and being done with that part of the project. It's still no guarantee, of course, since remember, I do have to win the tournaments, but it's a chance, and it's a chance I'm willing to take. Let's do this, guys. Monday, June 2nd. Well, after my victorious revelation yesterday, I felt like I was on top of the world today. That is, until my girlfriend decided to, in a completely uncharacteristic move, knock me all the way down when she sent me a response to my letter yesterday. And this response was not kind. I thought I was being really sweet with my letter too, but I guess she didn't really connect with the N64 as much as I did. She must have grown up with the PlayStation 1 or something. Anyway, I decided to give her some space today as I interacted with some other neighbors, mainly our newest ones. Except for Peewee, I couldn't find him today, but Poncho and Peanut were around at least. Although, Poncho decided to adopt Bill's annoying habits of painting my house without asking, which means he is surely making my next pitfall target an incredibly obvious one, I must say. Peanut has been great though. Honestly, she's probably been my favorite move-in since Biscuit and Freya, or I guess technically Tangy if she would have stuck around longer. Just really sweet and carefree, and a nice attitude to be around, especially during days like this when others have been giving you that little bit of grief that otherwise would ruin a good day. Another thing that helped me feel better about Cookie's letter was the fact that Gulliver came to town today, and I finally got the last remaining item from his list that I hadn't gotten in my catalog yet, the Tiger Bobblehead. Now, at the time, I incorrectly stated that I got all of Gulliver's items without use of item codes, and that is technically untrue, as I think I did get one of them in that fashion, but I did get the last one without use of that method, and my odds were technically much worse in that case, so I'll still take that as a minor victory. Anyway, the bobblehead was probably the best item to get as the final item, because it for some reason just really tickled me in the funny bone whenever I interacted with it. Guys, look at his head. Okay, I'll stop. I can't help it. Bobbleheads are just too funny for me. And to close out the day, I decided to play one of the 2 Donkey Kong games I got yesterday, starting with the good one. Trust me, on a day like today when your girlfriend chastises you for some reason, you really don't want to depend on Donkey Kong 3 to help you feel better. Anyway, not much to say about this game. It's Donkey Kong, and it's a classic. Shame it's only got 3 levels though, and is missing the 50M stage for some reason. Also, shoutouts to my Donkey Kong 94 replay project, which I'm also doing around the point of when I'm uploading these videos. It was a fun project, and I really enjoyed playing it again for you guys. Tuesday, June 3rd. A pitfall finally becomes available, which means it's finally time for me to get my revenge on Poncho. Or not, because I fell right into it. Dang it, you win this round, you sneaky athletic bear. In better news, Freya is still wearing the 67 shirt, so that's something to be happy about. Also, when hanging out at Peanut's place, I couldn't help but notice that she had the fabled thinking chair from Blue's Clues, which clearly means that she's a lover of the game. And really, how could you not be? I decided to buy a thinking chair from Nook's shop today and give it to Bill so he could also play some Blue's Clues at his house. Why would anyone want to play Blue's Clues, you ask? Because it's a real fun game, yeah! Okay, give me a break. We have 1 month left and I'm trying to find anything to amuse myself with. After all, it could be worse. I could be playing Donkey Kong 3, another one of the NES games I acquired recently. I really don't have much to say about this game. It's quite easily the worst of all the Donkey Kong arcade games. You don't really even platform in this game. You just avoid bugs and fire pesticides at Donkey Kong's ass, and that's really about it. At least Donkey Kong Jr. had, you know, platforming involved, and the math game at least offered what it was advertising. Seriously, don't play this game. Wednesday, June... Wait. Before I move on to the next day, let me check something really quick. Oh my god, thank god I checked. Oh my god. I think that's like the biggest price I've ever seen for him, too. Yeah, I'm glad I actually remembered this, because if I moved on to the next day, I would have missed this epic turnip price I would have had otherwise. Something that's really easy to do in retrospect. Phew, that was a close one. Oh well, more money for me, yay! Wednesday, June 4th. Red decided to come back to town today. Did he have the flowery painting though? Of course not. Looks like we're item coding something else today. But hey, we are getting what's perhaps the last furniture item of all the regular furniture sets, and I mean all of them. I think at this point Red only has the painting left, maybe one of the NES games too, but I don't know. Either way, chances should be good, if not guaranteed, that fishing will lead us to the promised land, if my theory is correct anyway. This was also the first day I talked to Cookie since our fight the other day, or I should probably say our one-sided fight anyway. It did feel a bit awkward, but Cookie at least made up for it by offering to paint our roof any color we wanted. Which, hey, if they're going to paint your house, it's at least better for them to ask you what color first. You hear that, Bill and Poncho? Not much else really happened today, though. I have it written that Jeremiah referred to Thursday as Thrilling Thursday, but if that's literally the only thing I have to say about Jeremiah, after months and months of him just being here and saying and doing nothing, that's really not saying much about Jeremiah, is it? Thursday, June 5th. We got a response from the letter we sent to Bill about Blue's Clues, and, well, let's just say I don't think he wanted to play Blue's Clues. Oh well, I guess the game isn't for everyone. Just for people who, you know, actually have a soul. Kidding, of course. Not a lot to say about today, though. I was hoping to find some new gyroids today to bring those painting odds up for Wisp, but we're pretty deep in the collection now, so duplicates will likely be the main result from here on out. I also sent another letter to Cookie to apologize for our fight recently. I think I even came to the decision that if she had a bad reaction to this one, that might be it for the Slim and Cookie relationship, as I don't want to spend the last month of Popstar constantly mending and fixing something that's clearly on unstable grounds, but we'll see what happens. I still have hope that we can make something work. I'm a dedicated and committed individual, and she's as sweet as the treat she's named after. Friday, June 6th. Two minorly bad things happened today. The response we got from Cookie wasn't that great, although it wasn't as drastic or dire as the last response we got, so I'm not assuming the worst just yet. She may just need a little more space, as we did just make up after our lost little squabbles, so I'm not going to argue with her about it. Also, Biscuit painted our house pink. That little scamp. Getting back to Cookie's letter, though, she did remark quite positively about Freya's clothes. And Freya is wearing the 67 shirt right now. So hey, there's something my girl is taking an interest in that I can't appreciate. My dumb and silly memes. Huzzah! Today was a big day for me though, because I finally decided to use this day to make a decision on what the hell I was going to do with Peewee. And even then, it took a while to get there. I'll be real, despite poor first impressions, Peewee has not been as bad as Caesar, but he hasn't exactly been great either, and I just didn't know whether or not I wanted to spend this last month, or even a portion of this last month, dealing with another gorilla. I decided to ask my chat what they thought, but even they were split right down the middle on whether to keep or re-roll him, so I was at a major standstill. At this moment, I devised the Peewee test, which was basically a process where I would talk to Peewee 5 times, and based on his responses, that would determine his fate. However, when it was all said and done, it was still kind of a deadlock. He started the whole process by yelling at me, but then followed it up immediately by buying one of my items for a much higher market price. Then he said I was unfashionable, yet at the same time complimented me on my laid-back attitude, even though it was also kind of a backhanded compliment. I swear, Peewee, are you chaotic neutral or something? Anyway, it was Madame Wario who spoke up at this point and said she was changing her vote to keep him because even though she is not a big fan of monkeys, she at least saw something in him and felt that his more aggressive side was more of him just being blunt than mean and nasty. So I went with that and decided to keep him for the time being. Although I suppose it also would have been very anticlimactic to go through all of that and not keep him either, so I guess I'm okay with this result. Welcome aboard, Peewee. I hope I don't lose anyone good because of you. I finished the day with another Wisp session, and hey look, another Gyroid. Saturday, June 7th. Well, I gotta say, despite hesitation, deciding to keep Peewee gave me today's biggest highlight when his opening day letter had me literally laughing my ass off. Just the fact that he wanted fish sticks, of all things, just made this so much better. And no, not even because of the South Park reference either. Just again, the fact that he wanted fish sticks, of all things, was hilarious. It was a pretty simple day though, all things considering. Just did a few neighbor favors, and also checked out this weekend's camping villager, which was Pudge. Unfortunately though, Pudge is lazy, so I couldn't really capitalize on him today. I also showed off that you can use axes to activate the money rock in addition to the shovel, but I honestly feel like the shovel's more efficient anyway, since you can make holes to lock you in place. Also, I think I may have caught both Bill and Maddie in a bit of a secret rendezvous at night. Maybe Bill was a little more interested in the girl than he initially thought. You sly duck. For music tonight, for my town tune, I decided on this little number. Name that tune. For KK Slider, we actually had 2 performances, and that was mostly due to my fault. It was decided that we would listen to KK Lucky tonight, but I accidentally left an extra space at the beginning of the title, so instead we got this random performance from the K9. When the song is over, KK mentions how he has never heard the name of that song before, so he just jammed instead. This will not give you a song for your inventory either, but thankfully you do have another chance to suggest something else and actually get something from him. So here is the actual KK Lucky song. Sunday, June 8th. As glorious as the fish sticks letter was, keeping Peewee unfortunately opened the door for the grim possibility of losing someone we actually like and care about. And unfortunately, despite really enjoying her presence for almost the past 3 weeks, the game did decide that Peanut would be the one to depart this time, and that was admittedly a bummer for me. I really like this girl, and she will always be a favorite of mine. It's actually a blessing that I have her amiibo card too, so at least I can bring her back in future games if we ever want to see her in action again. And also assuming we actually get to those games for Let's Plays. I wouldn't say she brought too much to the town, aside from generally just being likable, but again, she was only here for 20 days, so not a lot of time to even develop too much lore. At least we had some memorable moments with her, like what she savagely did to Gulliver on her second day of living here. That's still kind of creepy thinking about it. Now, what really got my head scratching today, though, was our newest villager, Lulu. Wait a minute, doesn't Lulu live in pieces? Yeah, it's true, she does live in pieces, but this Lulu doesn't seem to recognize me at all, and has no recollection of even talking to me before. That's because, my friends, this is not the same Lulu from Pieces. It is the same character, don't get me wrong, but due to how convoluted this game could get with you visiting random towns and running into villagers that live in both towns, your game data will only tie interactions to the character based on where they come from. So try to think of this Lulu as Popstar Lulu, and the other one as Pieces Lulu. That's the best way I can describe it anyway. For the playthrough lore, I suggested the possibility that Lulu was a part of a nefarious experiment initiated by Professor Plasma, where he cloned Lulu and for some reason sent her to live in both towns to spy on me and John's activities. That, or due to all my random time-traveling shenanigans in the past, we created a time paradox where Lulu's personality split into two separate beings, and one reality had her moved to pieces and the other to Popstar. This was actually around the date that I set the clock for the Pieces town when I first created it, after all, so there could be some evidence there. I don't know, though. Believe whatever you want to, really. At the core, she's a peppy hippo villager, and she has 5 beds in her house. 5 beds? Seriously? God, these neighbors are weird sometimes. Wendell came to town today as well, but since we are done with wallpapers now, I use this opportunity to use an item code for another island item, a treasure chest. My basement was starting to get a little full though, so I took the telescope from the meteor shower and decided to give it to Biscuit, because I picture him wanting to become a spaceman or astronaut someday. Seems like something wholesome enough for him anyway. And well, that's about it. Aside from the fishing tournament, of course. That's right, it's Sunday yet again, which means we have more fish to acquire. Especially because I have some theories I still need to put into practice. This week pretty much went the same as last week, in terms of me struggling and agonizing over getting a lot of large bass. Seriously, it really felt like they went extinct or something with how many carp and barbel steed I found. I eventually got a good collection of them, but when I turned them in the chip, I was only getting sizes of high teens and low 20s of inches, which is generally below the threshold of what you want for this tourney. But once I claimed the lead at 21, I left for the afternoon and came back later in an effort to try and snipe the record at the buzzer. Surprisingly, my record of 21 stood until the very end, literally being the top fish still seconds before I talked to Chip one final time as the competition wrapped up, which should have secured me as the victor. But fate had some other plans for me. He said I was the top still, so, I mean, unless I literally got sniped the second. What?! Literally at the last second, during the frames in between me talking to Chip and the clock changing to 6 p.m., Freya came out of nowhere and stole this week's victory from me. I was so freaking mad and annoyed by this. Not really because she won or anything, she won fair and square, but the fact that it literally said I was the leader as the clock changed over really made this loss sting. I guess no matter what, the only way you can secure a victory here is if you get a size of 25 to 27. So if you're hoping to sneak away with a 21 victory, you might be setting yourself up for disappointment. Anyway, this unfortunately means that we won't get an item this week, so our theory testing will have to hold us over until the following competitions. It sucks, but what are you gonna do? I think during the course of the next week, I'm going to try and save large bass in my house so I can limit the amount of fishing I have to do at once, because that's another thing that made this process disappointing, spending so much time doing something that ultimately led to nothing. Oh well, congrats to Freya just the same, although I can't help but being reminded of the fact that Freya actually has the last painting that I'm looking for in her house, so the fact she prevented me from getting my own copy, a little souring, I must say. Monday, June 9th. I'll be the first to admit it, I was still very, very, very salty about the fishing tourney. Heck, I was trying to take solace in the fact that maybe the 67 shirt is what gave Freya the power to win the thing hands down, but as long as I'm still hunting for that last painting, it's definitely not going to sting any less, that's for sure. However, it was really weird though, despite still wearing the shirt today, Freya ended up in a different shirt somehow. I don't think she talked to anybody, she was alone in her district today from what I remember, but as soon as I started talking to her, she was mysteriously in that very ugly shirt that's been going around. Speaking of which, why is that shirt going around lately? I saw some neighbors exchanging hands with it a few times today, and even Popstar Lulu gave it to me as a reward for completing a favor today as well. I understand the nature of clothing trends and everything, but did it have to be with a shirt so ugly? I'm going to try to put a stop to this ASAP, and my first line of business will be getting Freya back in the 67 shirt as soon as possible. I don't care if it does give her super fishing powers, this ugly meme is not sticking in Popstar. I also wrote Bill today and questioned him on his motives involving Maddie, since the two seem to be getting a little close lately. I know it was all for Biscuit and Maddie a few weeks ago, but nothing much has really developed on that front. And hey, if something good could still somehow come out of this, I'm all for that personally. So, you have fun, you crazy, crazy kids. That will do it for another Animal Crossing episode. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Reminder that you can find links in the video description for the unedited recording sessions of this playthrough, as well as individual links to the streams in particular that featured the days covered in this episode summary. Until we meet again, this has been SlimKirby, and I'll see you guys next time. Later, folks.